Hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you to another great edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I am so glad that you're here. I'm joined by some amazing co-hosts, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I love it. I love it.
Hey.
So listen, we got a fantastic show, but first I've got how has your week been, ladies? I mean, mine's been fantastic. A lot of new things going on that I'm going to be sharing in the upcoming weeks. You guys know already, but you can't say anything. It's like
Nice teasing.
I know, right? But yeah, we got a lot of things going on. What's been happening in your world? So I'll go to you, Chanel, because I've spoken to Sheila earlier in the week. So
Well, let me just start off by saying we have so much fun on this show. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I love it. So the big thing in my life right now is that I am clearing out my garage.
Woohoo!
Just clearing. Even this morning when I walked out and there was new space that I didn't have, it just felt incredible. And we're getting ready for Gian's open house, so now everything has to be cleaned.
Right.
So my cousin, bless her heart, Lisa Green, she came over last night and helped me to clear the garage out, and we made some really great progress. So that's the big thing that's happening in my life right now.
Wow,
That's
fantastic.
awesome.
Oh man, clearing out your house or your garage or anything like that, it's always a good thing. I did a little bit of that this week too. Yeah, Sheila.
Yeah.
My secret is to entertain, so I clean my house.
Exactly. You got it, Sheila.
That's actually a really, really good thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Right.
man, like entertaining in the break. Okay, I gotta clean my bathroom,
Right.
and do that. What we used to call, my brother and I used to call the grandma clean. Like your grandma's coming over, so she's gonna have like the white gloves on. Like,
Well,
Mine
Brian,
was just my mom.
you guys, we used to do that before kids. We used to have a maid or house cleaner, and so we'd have to clean the house before she came.
Right. That's why I don't get a maid. It seems like too much work.
Like, yeah, you gotta like clean up stuff and move stuff around and all that. Oh man. Anyway, listen, we have a fantastic show. But before we begin, I want to remind our listeners that listen, you are part of this conversation. And that we want your comments and thoughts and that kind of thing. You know, we have live streams going on all across our social media, and that you can post to any one of those, and we'll see it, and we'll get you in on our show, like your comment and that kind of thing. In fact, we already had one come in from a Facebook user. I don't know who this is. I wish we could know their name, saying, "Awesome, we think you're awesome." And that's how we do it here.
Love it.
Why don't we go ahead and get started, because today we are talking about some important American history facts that you probably never learned in school. There is a fantastic article that I found that relates to this. I'm going to post it in our chat really quickly. And that I was like, wow, I think people would really, really get a kick out of knowing about some of these facts. I know, ladies, you've already kind of did your sneak peek at it. What did you think of some of the things we're going to be sharing?
High level, it's just eye-opening.
Yeah.
The little things that maybe you knew a little bit about, gave us more insight and more facts. And so I'm really excited to dive into this. It was definitely eye-opening.
Right. What about you, Sheila?
For me, definitely there were a few that were eye-opening, and others I was like, "Oh yeah, I know that, but I know it from after school." Like what
Mm-hmm.
I making an effort to learn,
Mm-hmm.
And some of
Mm-hmm.
it like I had learned fairly recently and was like, "Oh, how did I not know that?"
Yeah.
Right, right. So why don't we dive into our first one here? And this is, I love this because I love NASA. I love space. This is about, astronaut Neil Armstrong, and there he is. But what you probably didn't know, and if you did know this, we want to how you knew about this or where you learned about it. Um, Neil Armstrong was probably misquoted on the moon. Astronaut Neil Armstrong is recorded as saying, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." See how I did that? I said it like him. When he first stepped on the moon in 1969, but he was probably misquoted. Armstrong told reporters after the Apollo 11 mission that he actually said, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." The missing A would make a lot more sense because without it, Armstrong is repeating himself and saying that's one small step for man, as in all of mankind, and then one giant leap for mankind. According to space.com, computer programmer Peter Shanford analyzed audio of the transmission from the moon in 2006 and found that there was a pause between for and man, and the radio just might not have transmitted the A. Wow. Wow. The little things, right? I mean,
The A's are
The
important.
power of the A.
the
Right.
power of the A, right? And I would think, if as I was reading this today, and I want to get you guys' reaction to this as well. Um, as I was reading this, and I was kind of imagining myself being Neil Armstrong, stepping on the moon, the first person to ever step on the moon. Yeah, you would say, yeah, this is a small step for me, right? Like in the greater scheme of things, this is about humanity taking a giant leap forward in our understanding of our role in the cosmos, and
Mhm.
us being part of the cosmos. So that was just my thought about it. What about you guys?
I don't know, just the whole concept that, he stepped on the moon is like the big, big deal. And to
Yeah.
have enough cognitive functioning to, say something of that would be quoted for generations, I guess, to me is like the big deal. So the minor, misstep and the
Yeah.
misquoting is not, of course, I would have never known had I not been on This Morning with Soulivity.
Right.
So I'm just kind of grateful for the awareness. But yeah, it's the big accomplishment that he did and just having some kind of foresight to say something so powerful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What about you, Sheila?
I feel like well, everything, that both of you just said, but I feel like the vibration does change with the A in there. And
Yeah.
so my mind, always goes to like, huh, would life have been different if that A was in there? Because it's
Wow.
more
Mm,
humbling
yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
more about one person where without the A, it kind of changes it to man, like men.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which also feels like it's exclusive in a way, even though it's
Right.
including more. And so, of course, I had never thought about it, but I feel a difference in the vibration. And I'm thinking about if I was going to be the first person on the moon, I probably would have spent a lot of time thinking about what I was gonna say, like the whole trip, right? And
Right.
the poor
Right.
Mhm.
guy, like, he probably planned it to the word, and then a word gets dropped.
Right. Like y'all messed up my saying.
Yeah, like, I really That's not what I meant.
That's
But at the
not what I
same
meant,
time,
people.
it does mean the same. And like, I think we've interpreted to this general same idea all
Right.
along. But
Right,
yeah.
right. All right. See this, and this is how we're going to be doing it. So we're having fun, and we've got another great historic fact before we're going to go to break. This is one that I was just like so shocked about. And this has to do with one of my grandmother's favorite things, and that's molasses. But did you know that there was a great molasses flood in Boston? Okay, the Great Molasses Flood of 1990 was a sticky situation with deadly consequences. United States industrial alcohol, which used the molasses to make liquor and ammunitions manufacturing, had stored the molasses in a tank built after World War One, according to History.com. One of the company's employees reportedly told them that the tank had been leaking and wasn't structurally sound, but they never took action on it. On January 15th, 1919, when it was warmer than usual, the tank burst and unleashed 2.3 million, that's with the million, an M, galleons of molasses, which rushed out onto Boston streets. A A 15-foot wall of molasses was reportedly crashed down Commercial Street going 35 miles per hour. It was so strong that the Boston Globe wrote that it caused buildings to cringe up though they were made of pasteboard. Overall, 21 people died and 150 people were injured. Holy crap. I mean, it's, you think of a molasses flood, like a wall of molasses. Oh my God. But this was serious. Some of these people died and got injured from it.
My mom had this habit. She used to like say the headline of her death. Like whenever weird things happened, like
Right.
crazy weird things. And obviously she did make the headline because she died of COVID, but but along the way it was kind of just goofy. And I can't believe she didn't say, woman dies of molasses.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, wow, Chanel. I mean, I know I didn't know about this.
I never ever heard of this. And what it is serious, you guys. So what it reminds me of is the squeaky leak, meaning literally. So there was somebody who was aware, who was
Hmm.
close to the ground, sort of in the weeds, and the upper management or whoever owners did not pay attention to those fine details, and
Right.
this actually cost people lives.
Right.
And so it's just a good reminder, you need to listen to your people,
Yeah.
and there has to be, safety nets over profits,
Right.
right?
Right.
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 Yeah, that is the
Right.
important issue.
I definitely can't see I can't see this story being picked up by Hollywood as a disaster film.
Right.
I can't see that selling like, the molasses flood, where, people are like walking around 1990 Boston and people actually buying into that there was actually a flood of molasses. But yeah, I mean, Chanel, you're absolutely right. I mean, these people, 21 people dying and 150 people being injured in 1919 is a lot of people.
Right. That
I mean,
is
that's like
true.
a
It was
mass,
a tragedy.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a mass disaster. And like, in that picture that we had up earlier, you could see that there was a lot of devastation. So,
Mhm.
well, listen, we got more of these historic facts that a lot of people might not have learned in school that are coming up. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about something that is. We know about women's suffrage and women's right to vote in 1920, which was affirmed. But we're going to be talking about something else that actually was not affirmed and that a woman couldn't do all the way until 1974. So we're going to talk about that when we come back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. Glad that you're here. We'll be right back in about 60 seconds.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Yeah, and we welcome you to go check out the new and improved Soulivity.com. It is here. It is reimagined for you, where you can learn more about how to learn and become aware of your passion, your purpose, and create a high quality life today. We are talking about American history facts that you probably didn't learn in school. I'm joined today with my beautiful co-host, amazing co-host, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman. Good morning again to both of you.
Good morning.
We talked about this great molasses flood in our last segment. Again, go check that out. We put the link in our chats for you can go read about it as well, learn more about it. But I wanted to move to this. Really, it's actually really sad. It's just part of American history, and we're talking about like the expansion of freedom that has been part of our country's history. It has been very slow for different minorities, including women and African Americans and other people of color. But this is something that I was like, whoa, about. And it has to do with women and credit. Did you know that women could not submit a credit application at a bank without a man until 1974? Until 1974, when the Equal Credit Opportunity Act passed, banks required single, widowed, or divorced women. I'm going to repeat that. Banks required single, widowed, or divorced women to bring a man to co-sign any credit application they submitted, regardless of how much money they made, according to The Guardian. Even worse, they would discount the value of a woman's income when considering how much credit to grant by as much as 50%. The year after, First Women's Bank, the first commercial bank owned by a woman, opened in New York City, women's rights activist Betty Freeland, who is pictured here, had an account there, according to The Guardian. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm going to tell you guys a real quick personal story. There's two sides of it, but the one side of it has to do with this. When my mother divorced my father, when my father and my parents actually got divorced, and it was finalized in 1975, this practice was still going on, right? And that my mother bought like some furniture, but now I understand that she couldn't even have bought the furniture. Like she bought it on credit at JCPenney. Remember when JCPenney had remember Northland, Chanel?
Yep.
The big JCPenney. She went there and bought some furniture, but she wanted to buy it on credit, and they required that my dad's name be listed. So she had to buy the furniture with my dad's name on it on the credit application. She got the furniture, of course, because of her job and all that kind of stuff. But I'm learning now that was common. I didn't know that was common.
And that's after the
act was signed, because a lot of times with these laws, no matter what, civil rights or voting rights or whatever, there's a lagging effect where it just doesn't happen immediately. I mean, there's policies and stuff like that have to happen at local and state level places. But that's why she had to put my dad's name.
Yeah. I mean, this one doesn't, it surprised me slightly about 1974, but I certainly knew that, the
Right.
restriction of women. And I feel like, I mean, I haven't looked into it, but I would guess that women still have a harder time getting good credit.
Yeah.
And probably pay higher, on the whole, higher interest rates and get less credit. Still, that would be I feel like we're not that far. I mean, we're
Yeah.
definitely making progress, but we still have a long way to go.
Right. Dr. Chanel?
Yeah, it just feels like the legitimacy of someone's credit worthiness to be called in question because of their gender. And of course, we know it also happens by race and ethnicity. If you were a widow or if you were single or divorced, so who is it, a business partner that you're supposed to go to?
Right.
Your husband? Is it somebody off the street? Like, it just seems like you have to subjugate yourself to a male in order to, get credit, maybe even to start a business. It just seems, and like you said, Sheila, 1974 is not too far
Right.
back for this to be the mindset of our lending institutions, our financial institutions, and the lagging effect of what this has meant for the advancement of women business owners or just women empowerment. I mean, to me, it's like one of those eye-opening things. I had no idea. And especially, I mean, I knew there were inequalities, of course, for women, but not in 1974, just coming out of it in 1974.
Yeah, and then you couple onto that, what was it, in this, I think in the same year there was the Women's Pregnancy Act that basically kind of affirmed that women have the right. This is so ridiculous. Our country, sometimes I just kind of like shake my head that not until 1974 women's health care as it revolves around pregnancy, right? That set up things like, I mean, that previously set up things like Roe versus Wade and that kind of thing. That all this was happening in the early 70s. And that the laws like that, I mean, it's like, really, so the person who's having a baby can't like choose about a whole bunch of things that men are going to choose. And so all this was happening around the same time. And that I'm getting an even fuller picture of women's rights around economics, healthcare, and how all this, the freedoms that women really need to be affirmed by our government, right, in law, why it's been so lagging, right, and what the effects are so prevalent. Because again, how this relates to women making less than men, right? And then if they're making less than men on average, don't you think our financial institutions are taking that into account, where they have to make an extreme amount of money to be able to get at least just a decent amount of credit, which our whole economy kind of runs on. So
I see it as just more evidence that the capitalistic process is working to suppress, like it's an intentional suppression, systemically, maybe not
right.
individually.
Right.
Well, and Brian, you said the government are the people and then I'm sure we're primarily Caucasian men, correct?
Yes, because they're the ones who have all the benefits. They're the ones who actually, their freedom is actually enshrined in our Constitution, right? So from day one, there might be some economic things that might, stop them from reaching certain things at, faster or quicker, or however you want to say it. But they are free. There's no like question about that. Other people are not. They're not fully free, and we can talk about that in another show. But we've talked about that some in other shows. But yeah, so important thing. Listen, we're going to take another break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about another woman, another fantastic woman, but something about her that you might not know, and that's Harriet Tubman. And so we'll be back in about another 45 seconds.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together, we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on Soulivity TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
Yeah, you can catch Teresa today at 12 noon here on Soulivity TV, where she'll be talking about remembering who you are. It's going to be a great show. Welcome back to This Morning with Soulivity. It's Brian Johnson. I'm here with Sheila and Chanel. We're talking about some really important historical facts of American history that you probably never learned in school. And so we're going to be going over that. This next young lady, woman hero of mine, I think a lot of people in America and around the world, a lot of people know about her, and that's Harriet Tubman. And we're showing a great picture of her right now. But did you know that Harriet Tubman was the first woman to lead a raid during the Civil War? Harriet Tubman is well known as the woman who fled slavery and then helped lead other enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad. But that's not all she did. On June 2nd, 1863, during the Civil War, she also led the Combahee Ferry raid under Union Colonel James Montgomery, according to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which is here in D.C., by the way, that you'll want you to go visit. She was the first woman to lead a major military operation in the U.S. During that operation, she and 150 African American Union soldiers rescued more than 700 enslaved people. How about them apples? This woman was bad.
Oh,
What?
no, take no prisoner. She was bad. And if you had any resistance on the train, on the railroad train, yeah, I believe you got shot.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Even if you just got scared, right?
If you got scared,
yeah,
it was like either we're going or you die here.
Right.
Right.
You
Yeah.
choose.
Right.
So,
Because, yeah, I mean, in truth, that's how serious it was in terms of,
yes.
Yeah.
going through the Underground Railroad,
Mhm.
going to these different places, moving quickly, swiftly, quietly,
Mhm.
so that people didn't get caught. Because if you got caught, you were dying. You're gonna
Everybody
die.
was going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, Brian, help me with this saying, but I believe she said she could have freed thousands more if only they knew that they were slaves. Like
Yes.
people didn't, like once you, I guess, got conditioned to the life, like why would you leave that life to go
Correct.
off in the woods
Yes.
Right.
and
Yes.
risk your life when you can stay a slave
Correct.
on the plantation? So,
Correct.
and I know those are not easy decisions, by far, right?
Right. That's one thing. That's one thing that I had this conversation with me and Sasha about, and that was, I know that our younger generation wants to talk about things like, well, things are really bad, and in many cases they're still bad today. But when I hear some young people starting making comparisons to, like, oh, well, things are worse than it was like during Jim Crow, or, yeah, people were slave, but it's not like the same. It's like, no,
No.
no, 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 no. And these things aren't as, Sheila, I think these things aren't as simple as we would like to make them out, because I think we were taught a simple historical accounting,
Right.
right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And whitewashed, right?
Yeah,
um, yeah.
you
Well, I
know.
did know this fact, and I can't remember if I learned it in school. Thinking about this
Oh
whole.
yeah, you're in New York.
All right, so I have the fortune of living around where Harriet ended up living in the end. So
Mhm.
we learn about a lot of it in school, and then also I've met her. I think great grandchildren, and
Wow. Wow.
so I'm fortunate to be able to see the connections and know more about her. I have a friend writing a book about her as well. So, but can I remember whether I knew this fact in school? I don't know.
Right? Like, maybe. No, I did not know this. Of course, we knew about some other facts, but as I've gotten older, I've learned more about the details of like her trips and how she's detailed all these different routes,
Mhm.
and the sheer number of enslaved people that she brought to freedom, and her political savvy,
Mhm.
working with abolitionists at that time, in the North, and pushing them to bring African Americans into the Civil War, you know,
Right.
because they were fighting for their freedom. Um, this is another great historical fact, but it's a sad one. Um, um, we all know about Prohibition in the 1920s. Um, but there was some things that were happening during that time that I know I did not know. And one of them was that the US government was poisoning people.
This one
To,
is crazy.
yeah, to turn
And
them
not
from
like
drinking.
we should.
Yeah.
It's scary that we're not that surprised.
I'm like, holy crap. Okay, so during Prohibition in the United States, federal officials ordered industrial alcohol manufacturers to denature their products with chemicals like kerosene, iodine, and chloroform, which not only made the alcohol taste worse than it already did, but it also often made it deadly. Around 1927, the Treasury Department also told manufacturers to add more methyl alcohol to their product so that it comprised 10% of the total products, according to Slate. Once Prohibition ended in 1933, some estimates accused the government of being responsible for the deaths of 10,000 people through its alcohol poisoning program. Jeez, oh Pete's, oh Pete's.
Mm.
Right? That is.
So the ideological underpinnings of this is incredibly, incredibly strong, right? But
Yes.
is it not, Brian and Sheila, similar to what we saw with the crack epidemic
Mhm.
and
Yes.
things
Yes.
being laced at a more
Yep.
lethal
Yes.
level? All
Yes.
that
Mhm.
is being intentional,
Yep.
Right.
deliberate,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
I think so. I
I think
agree.
so too. Yeah. I mean, um, again, who are the 10,000 people that actually died? I would love to find out more about that. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this, and find out, because I can totally believe that the people who were drinking this alcohol were poor, were
Right.
really
That there was a
poor.
way
Mhm.
to discern, to keep
It,
it out of
exactly.
what the others were drinking. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. That that if you're going to drink some alcohol, you're going to have it, that this stuff was being pushed in certain areas, because you weren't hearing about people in like Chicago dying from alcohol poisoning in those speakeasies,
Mhm.
right? Or
Mhm.
New York in the speakeasies and those kind of things. they were getting alcohol from Canada, right? That was flowing down in it from Canada and that kind of thing. So
Mm.
really sad, 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 sad story.
Mhm.
Listen, we're going to take another quick break. More on a lot of these great stories and historical facts that you may not have known in a second. Um, Man, this upcoming story is, I knew about the uprising, but there were some other things that I didn't know. So that would happen in New York City around LGBTQ rights. So we'll be right back in about 30 seconds.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back talking about American historical facts that you probably never learned in school. And so I'm going to go to this next one, which is a sad story about in 1969 that regards the Stonewall Inn, and that I think that this is something that may have come into more of the mainstream now. But you
Mhm.
probably, there's a lot of people who probably still don't know this. And that is that in 1969, the Stonewall Uprising was the start of the LGBTQ rights movement. And it happened on July 28th, 1969, where police in New York City raided the Stonewall Inn. It's a popular gay club, reportedly because the club was serving liquor without a license. Now, during that time, police often violently raided clubs and bars that they thought provided safe harbor for LGBTQ people, according to History.com. In the early morning hours of June 28th, police beat patrons of Stonewall with their nightsticks and drew their guns, but the patrons fought back. The raid led to a days-long violent uprising and protest, becoming one of the key historical markers for the start of the LGBTQ rights movement. Stonewall is still a club in New York City, though now it is also designated as a national monument. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Just so sad. I mean, um it's sad that people have to go through trauma
Mhm.
and death
Mhm.
and blood and violence uh before things at least start to move and change, right? Where people become more aware. I'm thinking the same thing as Bloody Sunday,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I'm looking at
Right.
these kind of things where, um, sadly, without them, would there have been change?
Yeah, there seems to be typically like a tipping point, a boiling point where factions or, opposing groups
Hmm.
clash into this uproar. I'm thinking of the Detroit race riots,
Yeah,
even, and I don't know a lot about the LGBTQ, and I didn't know a lot about Stonewall.
yeah,
Um, but I'll be honest, I did see some of the depictions through the Netflix, Pose.
oh yeah,
It
hmm,
showed a lot of what, people, the LGBTQ community had to endure.
hmm,
And yeah, like you said, any people who are providing safe harbor, even like, with in the Underground Railroad, right? If you were participating, you were going to be, thrown into the same, um, violence,
yeah,
um, that ensued. So, yeah, it was a really, really hard, a hard, but it was the beginning, right,
right,
of rights
right.
that now, LGBTQ community does enjoy or is progressing.
Hmm, hmm. Sheila, what are you thinking? I know you
Uh,
probably already knew about this.
well, but not from school, of course.
Right, right, right.
And not, I was trying to think, Dr. Chanel, I think that I too learn a lot of these things through television or movies. And sometimes it's not about the topic, but it's just, like a fictional show that has these facts in it, which I think is a wonderful thing that we're doing that in the industry at this point. But yes, I have heard of some of this, and I agree. Like, there does seem to be this, so far in humanity's evolution that we call it an uprising for a reason. It's when the people who are being suppressed rise up and start to claim their truth. And I guess in this case, I'm grateful that it is a national monument. And I'm also like, I've never gone there. I should do that next time I go to New York City.
Yeah. I was just thinking that too. That I think the next time that I'm in New York, I'm definitely going to go by and just be in the presence of those people who were, that either got really that were injured, that were part of the protest, just the energy of those freedom fighters. Wow.
Brian, and
Yeah.
two, there's usually a movement before the movement.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That we don't
I
know that.
wonder
Yeah.
that we don't know, and I wonder what
Right.
that could be in this case.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Now this is a twist. I'm gonna since we have limited time, I'm gonna do a twist on freedom, and that is, as you can see, this is a photo of 1945, where it was announced that Hitler was dead, and it was moving toward the end of the Second World War. But did you know that hundreds of Nazis actually fled to America after World War II? According to NPR, hundreds of Nazis settled in the United States after the war. According to the book and review, many entered the country one by one and served as spies for American intelligence officials. They were able to start over, living under false names, so as to protect their identities and their past. Woohoo. Did you guys know that? I did. I figured that was happening,
You did?
but yeah, because
That's what we do.
because America wanted intel, right? They want
Right.
intelligence
Yeah.
because, we were moving out of World War II into the beginning of the Cold War with Russia,
Mhm.
right? We were always like pseudo allies. We were aligned with Russia, but they were moving toward claiming that's where the Soviet Union got built. I mean, they got built because of World War II,
Mhm.
right? All these countries got gobbled up and they became the Soviet Republic. So,
Well, I understand about the intel. The themes that are coming to my mind are safe harbor and
yeah.
forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because you would have, walking among you unknown,
Yeah.
people who had to take orders to slaughter and genocide, a complete, segment of the population of the universe.
Yep.
And yet they were able to find safe harbor and so I don't know what their lives were here,
Right.
when they came over, but my gosh, that kind of gives me pause.
Yeah. I'm not, I'll say this. Um, this is the historical fact. And so people have a right to decide whether or not they agreed with it or not. I mean, I personally would be like, I don't know.
Well, like,
I
Brian, what
mean,
about the Jews then that were here in America, the
yeah,
descendants of those who were slaughtered?
right,
I wonder about them.
right,
Right. Well, I think we're like looking at this. I like what you said, Dr. Chanel, about the safe harbor, because
right.
certainly some people felt that they were caught in doing something that they didn't want to do and maybe had remorse.
Right.
But when we look at not just first I was just looking at our country today with the uprising of white supremacy,
Yes.
and how many of those that came in or were here, because it's possible that there were people here that already, agreed with the Nazis or something. But,
Hmm.
it's another angle to, like, is there any correlation between those descendants and the lineage of people, of some of the people rising up?
Hmm.
Was some of this taught? And not just in our country, but around the world, because I'm sure other countries did this.
Right.
So it's an interesting fact, right? Because, okay, so they were here. Was there healing? And I'm sure there was healing. And then I'm sure there were also some people still passing that teaching along, thinking that they were right.
Yeah, I can't help but think that that's true, Sheila. Did you guys ever see? Was it on Netflix or was it? I'm trying to remember what platform it was on, but it was a series named Hunters, and it
I didn't see
starred Al Pacino
Mm.
as this Jewish Nazi hunter in America.
that.
Jewish
And-
Nazi.
yeah, and he was basically um, you know, searching for and literally killing Nazis that were part of, the genocide in
Wow.
Germany. And
Wow.
so, so that puts, I'm going to go back and watch that because this puts a whole nother spin on, on what was going on, especially if it was sanctioned by the U.S. government. Right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
you would have to be looking over your shoulder all your life, right?
That's why a lot of them went to Argentina. I mean, they thought that they could be safe there. But from what I understood, there were people who went down there and hunted them down there too.
Wow.
Hmm.
My grandfather came from Germany, and so at the World War II, some of his brothers and siblings had already immigrated here, and some were on the other side. And so because they were on the other side, I believe, and we didn't talk about it too much, but I believe that at least one of my great uncles would have been in the service because you didn't have a choice, right?
Right.
So it's just fascinating to look at it from that perspective. We certainly, that it wasn't passed down, that was a good thing through our family, and it really wasn't talked about in that generation too much. I think by the time I grew up enough to
Mhm.
understand it, because it was so intense.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm. Wow. 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 Well, listen, that's all we have time for. Great show today. I hope all of you love those different facts. Feel free to go back and rewatch this on Soulivity.com as part of Soulivity. I mean, part of This Morning with Soulivity. While we get to some shameful plugs while we still have time, Dr. Chanel, you've got some, as always, coaching sessions that I think are so necessary for our audience to be a
Absolutely.
part of. Can you
Yeah,
tell people about
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, so Brian, right now I am helping some clients with procrastination, which is dealing
Ooh,
with your
ooh,
unconscious fears. And so
ooh.
if you're trying and avoiding doing something that you really want to do, your dream, your big why, and you can't figure out why you're not making progress, call me, reach out to the link that Brian provides, and let's have a chat.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Sheila, you've got your soul connection sessions as always.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit more about what people can learn and grow from during those.
The soul sessions are really, people come to me for many different reasons. Some people have had a loved one who crossed over and they want to strengthen their connection to
Mhm.
continue that as they move forward. Some people are facing an obstacle in their relationship or feeling like there's a moment of transformation, that there's something more that they were looking for. And we explore that as a beginning point to discovering what you really want and claiming it.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. I just love the fact that you guys offer these kind of services for people because, a lot of times we don't know where to turn,
Hmm.
and we need the support to move us through whatever challenge we're going through. And so just want to again just acknowledge the both of you for providing these kind of services to people. And so we're glad to have you here with Soulivity.
Thank you.
Um, wow. As I said before, the new Soulivity.com is here. You want to go check out our new reimagined platform. What do you guys think about the new Soulivity?
I am
Loving
so
it.
excited. I am so excited. And I know there's more you're going to reveal, but I'm excited. And I'm super happy and just,
Yeah.
I can say proud, but we know the hard work that has been going on, Brian, for a really long time. And so to see it, come to this new level is super exciting.
Yeah. In fact, there's a great story, and I'm pointing to it right now from she's new but old. This one of my first interns here at Soulivity, Gaia Marin, has now joined us as a contributor, and she's doing this whole, La Dosa Vita series on her how she went from work to wanderlust, and she's
Right.
going to be providing us with all those insights and stories that are part of her journey to where she's at today. And so, welcome, Gaia. Well, I should say, welcome back, Gaia. Listen, while we still have time, I want to remind everybody. Listen, please follow us on social media and join our mailing list by visiting the This Morning Soulivity site by going to soulivity.com/this morning. We're on all the major platforms. We are up and running on Threads. But we'll have more information that we're going to be sharing through them very shortly. On behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you for joining us for another great episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast, or you can listen to us Thursdays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM for all of you guys on the West Coast. Thank you again to my beautiful co-host, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman for joining me today.
Yay.
Glad to be here.
And until next time, everyone, please, we love and appreciate you. Keep having real conversations with passion and power and purpose, and create your life full of high quality living today. We'll see you next time.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.